All right, so we've already covered kind of the basic ethics of preaching with AI in video one, and in video two we kind of did the exegesis, the basic look at how to use commentaries with AI. It's essentially screenshot, walkthrough, and then you're going to cultivate it the way that it helps you the most. Now what you're seeing on my screen is what this would look like after that. I break the notes down by verse. 13 1a. This is, I know we did Matthew 12 in the last one, but I had already had this one worked out for Matthew 13. But this is what all of that looks like once it makes it onto my notes. All right. So let's see, how would we begin? So what I like to begin with, I don't generally begin with an opening. I like to get that first passage on my screen on my notes. So we're in Matthew 13, right? So what I do is I just generally take that whole thing there and just I want to see it on my paper. I just I like that, and then thanks for that copyright info there. And then I'm a scripture and red guy. That way I always know when I'm looking at my notes what's scripture and what's something I've said. And then quotes like this, if they make my final, I end up highlighting them so I know that it's something I want to say specifically the way that it's written. Because generally I don't say things as I have them written down. You'll see that in the final video where we kind of go through what a sermon looks like that's drafted fully. So let's see if I can do this live. I don't know, I've never done this like this before. So that day Jesus went out of the house and was sitting by the sea. So if I'm writing this sermon, I'm gonna say, so where are we? Right? It's like you may know where you're at, but your congregation has no idea. You're just in Matthew 13. Someone may be their first day, so you're going to want to explain the context, like what sea, where were they the day before, maybe, or why are they here, right? And so and that's generally my opening, right? My opening is generally the context. Now you can start with, sometimes I start with a story, sometimes an illustration, whatever. But what I'm attempting to do is create the context around where the story or the text lies. That's super important. It draws everybody in so that we're all on the same page, right? You're assume that someone is there that has never picked up a Bible. To me that's number one. If you're preaching on Sundays, now you get in a conference talk or maybe you're talking to a group of Christians or pastors, things change, right? But generally on a Sunday, I always assume that there's someone who has never been to church when I'm writing. And so that's why all that goes. And that's where some of this is going to help you work that out. And so when I see my first verse, I go to my notes. Okay, this is... So here's some context, right? So I'm probably going to talk a little bit about that. This is what happened right before this, rejection of religious leaders, right? And so I'm going to try to lay all that out. But the goal here is, obviously on this specific one is explaining parables and explaining the first parable. And as far as we understand, the first parable kind of sets up the rest of them. So that is kind of how I start. And just begin to kind of walk out each one of these moments, and it's trial and error. One of the big issues that you're going to need to know when you're doing this is, how long am I going? How long do you preach? Do you have 15 minutes? Do you have 25? I'm about a 25-minute, 25 to 30, and so for me, I know because I used to preach on physical paper that 12 pages for me at 14 font is about 25 to 30 minutes, somewhere in there. And so you've got to figure out, and that's going to help you, because once you get, you number your pages, and then, you get to about page 8 or 9, and you go, I got to start wrapping this thing up, right? And then so kind of begins to force you to hone it in. And honestly, I know this isn't how everyone does this. I don't know what I'm going to say until I do this. I really don't. And that's, I think, to me, that's good exegesis. Now, when you come with an idea and say, well, I need the text to say this, right? That's eisegesis, and that's, I don't want to say wrong, but maybe there's a time and a place, but I think this is the safest way to stay ethically in line with Scripture, and using the AI in this portion. I will say sometimes it'd be like you can go back and go, man. So in verse, what's our first verse? I'm so bad on just verse 1, yeah. Okay, so for instance, if we're looking at verse 1, you can ask it some anything you want, really. I've already set the parameters. It has my commentaries in it, and so you could do something like, man, I'm stuck trying to figure out how verse 2 and 3 connect. And I don't even know if they do. I don't know anything about it. I didn't look it up, the verses yet. I've just really and you can kind of see how this can really, especially when you're stuck. I'm telling you what, it does a great job of kind of shifting gears for you, getting you thinking in the right spaces, and you can kind of see how this can be helpful. Right, and so this is just, it's just, you're not going to get this kind of help anywhere else. It's so useful. And again, the ethics of it, we discussed in the first video and the second video, where we said, you've done the work already. You've got to, if you haven't done the work already, it's super important that you've done the studying, that this all isn't new to you, that you've kind of, you've taken the Scriptures in, and you can get to this point. So, and then in the last video, I'm just going to kind of show you how this all lines up on a paper for preaching on Sunday. But this is, if you got any questions or any ideas that would be helpful, put them in the comments.